Right.
And Kentwood Public Schools, like it was said, I think you said it, it's one of the most diverse school district that in the state of Michigan. I wanna know how we can help. I think that should be how people see us right now. How can we help? The anger, the frustration, I get it. I was horrified, and I had the same reaction seeing people watching this. I had the same reaction, but seeing this conversation streaming, it made me, I was disappointed because we're not rallying together. It's like us against them. And it shouldn't be like that because they want us to fail. They look at us and they're saying, all these black people in the room, y'all got problems. They want us to fail. And I want us to succeed. So I want to be a part of the solution and not look at this. Yes, it's bad, but how can we make it better? Let's stop judging each other. Let's come from, it just wasn't on video. Period. So people didn't step in when people got into fights when I grew up either. And that, I'm not gonna date myself, but that was a minute ago. That was a minute ago. But it just wasn't on video. So it is bad, and looking at it makes it even worse. But I'm also saying, we gotta find the root cause. We can't start pointing fingers at proximity. We can't point fingers just because somebody was there and should have been doing something. Because a child didn't wake up, contrary to what you may think. A person just doesn't wake up one day and behave a certain way without all of those experiences and the way they were raised, the experiences that they had, all that stuff plays into it. And you can't have security every 6 feet. I wouldn't want my child to go to school policed. So how can we as a community support the school system, support each other, support each other to say, hey, that might not have been my child standing there watching it,
But that's why we're here.
but it could have been.
But we are doing that. That's why we're here. That's why all
Exactly. But so let's stop looking at how we're angry. Let's start coming from a place of not anger, but solution. How can we figure out a way?
But I can't hear that because this is a place of anger. That could have been anybody's child, including mine. And the difference between me and you is I grew up where we would have laid down on top of that child and stopped. We would have stopped because that's where I come from.
And that's a great. That would be great. That would be great. But the thing is, how do we get there? How do we get there?
I want to, first of all, I appreciate your passion for this community. I appreciate that you're here. I appreciate that you're sacrificing time to be here instead of doing something else. I would like to get you answers to the questions that I can now. I will assure you that we have tracked your questions. We'll post answers online if you have to go. I will,
have to go.
No.
We're not. We are not leaving until you make a commitment to her and her family.
I'm here to answer your
That's
questions.
fine, no. And we can talk about the culture, yes. We can do better at home, we can do better with the security, we can do better. And I appreciate your comments for sure, definitely. But for them people, the kids to be punished because they were standing around when they were really just falling in line with the culture.
Right.
With the culture. To be punitive towards them.
Gotta show them that it needs to be changed. How do you do that?
No, we're not making examples of it. We can make examples of
I'd like to address your questions. I would ask if you'd like to have a personal conversation with somebody, just step outside the room to respect those that want to move forward. If we don't get closure to some of your questions, we will come back, I promise you. I will share this first and foremost. It was a disgusting event which happened today. I share in your anger for what happened. As a parent of a daughter, as a parent of a son, it would not be acceptable in any circumstance I've ever been in for what happened. That includes the bystanders. It's not a part of what we've taught our children in any of our schools, that being a bystander is acceptable either. We do not have a policy that says a staff member cannot intervene. We do not have that policy. We have There are circumstances in which administrators can intervene for the safety and well-being of students, staff, or other guests in our school. So the same goes for our students. We do not have a policy that says a student cannot intervene for the safety of others. We actually have policy that says being a bystander and videoing is against our student handbook. There will be consequences for the students that did that, because what they're doing is they're fueling the violence that's happening. They're providing a platform and they're providing a, I apologize, I want to address these questions. I apologize. I will follow up with anything that isn't answered. I do ask that you do allow me to do so though, please. And so we are still in the midst of the investigation. You saw the amount of students that were involved. I can't sit up here and say to you that things happened as they should be. Obviously they did not. It is not our stance, our policy, our practice, what we teach for staff not to be in certain areas. I will say that there is not going to ever be a day or time that we can have an adult in every space of every school. That's not possible. However, our expectation is that teachers are at the door to warmly greet students, to help supervise, that our administrators, our behavior specialists, our station staff are circulating throughout the building. The question was asked about lunch. Do we supervise lunch? Yes, we do. Our safety staff is in. We have 2 cafeterias at East Kentwood High School. We have 3 lunch periods. We have somewhere in the order of 800 to 900 students that are in those spaces at any one time for 3 lunch periods. That covers 3 hours of the day. That covers a lot of our safety supervision. That's not an excuse, that's a reality. If it's something that we certainly will revisit, we have to learn and grow and get better from this. Some questions were asked about representation. I'd like to just introduce our staff that is here with us today, so you at least know these faces. Allow our staff to do that first. Jamie, if you could start.
James Gordon, I'm Executive Director of Human Resources.
Veronica
Lake, Executive Director of Student Services.
Carrie Rachel, Executive Director of Elementary.
Sunil Joy, Executive Director of Strategy.
Maria Bartels, Executive Director of Secondary Education.
Debbie Skyline, Director of Student Development.
Matt.
Todd Bell, Director of Business and Finance.
Yeah.
Omar Bradbury, Principal at East Kentwood.
Gary Harmon, Assistant Principal, East High School.
Lawrence.
Lawrence Hamilton, a teacher at East Kentwood High School.
Go.
Mike Thomas, primary culture coordinator across the district, along with boys basketball, varsity boys basketball club.
Tim Marcus, our Director of Communications for the Kentwood.
So last year,
Okay, thank you.
last year, we conducted our strategic planning process in which we engaged our stakeholders in our community. We got over 3,000 points of data. We had dozens of focus groups, town halls, interviews with students, with families. We have a parent advisory committee at each and every one of our schools. There's a representative from those parent advisory committees that meets with me once a month to bring concerns from the building, to get information, to go back to the building. There's a great avenue for parents to get involved right at their local building, and they have meetings on a monthly basis. We took the feedback that you gave us during that extensive process and we created goals around them. So when we talk about representation, Jamie and our HR department created goals around representation, but also the action steps to carry that out. I can tell you that our administrative group is our most diverse employee group. About a third of our administrators identify as persons of color. Our support staff would be next, and then, yes, including Black and African American. Our next group would be our support staff, and then our certified staff is about 13% of our staff identify as persons of color. About 7% of our staff are African American. The state average is there's 6% of the teachers in the state are African American. It's a gap in our system that we have to grow representation amongst all of our staff. Jamie and her team have done targeted recruitment at HBCUs, including Howard, Virginia State. We have educators from Talladega here, it's an HBCU. They're doing their clinical internship with us right now. We have partnerships with Grand Valley State University for Black educators, in which we bring in affinity groups together so that we know that there's a fertile soil for them to operate in. We know we have growth to do. We acknowledge that there is bias in each and every person. We know that our institutions have structural biases by race, We acknowledge that. But we also aren't standing pat on it. And today is not a good day by any stretch of the imagination. It identifies that we continue to have work to do in our schools with our children and with our staff. It is work that we have embraced by listening to you and committing to action to accomplish. And that is in our board-approved strategic plan. High-impact, diverse staff, including, and that is a growth for our community, for our school, is to lift up and elevate that. So while we certainly want to recognize the languages, the ethnicities, and the beautiful tapestry of diversity, we also believe there's such strength in our racial diversity. Jamie, is there anything you want to add on that?
No, thank you for sharing some of the things
Yeah,
that
that's
we're
a
doing.
shout out for you. All right, we also, I'm gonna highlight Veronica Lake right now as our Executive Director of Student Services. Questions were asked about how are we empowering students to act in these situations. So last year, every employee in our district was trained on restorative practices. We have trained trainers in every single one of our buildings. This last week, we had training for all of our staff in our district as a follow-up to continue that implementation. That's to build connections, to build community, to strengthen relationships, but also to heal when harm has been done. We know that harm can take many facets. It can be implicit bias, it can be microaggressions, it can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be online, it can be a look, it can be exclusion, it can be, there's a variety of facets for that. But we're also embarking on how we can allow our staff to feel comfort in digging in those issues with our students. We've had lessons at East Kentwood High School and East Kentwood Freshman Campus over the course of the last school year to teach these skills about how to be an upstander. I meet with students at every one of our secondary buildings. I have a superintendent student advisory. I meet with them quarterly to discuss this. We talked about this topic last year at East Kentwood High School. And when I shared with the students, I said, there are nearly 3,000 of you, the largest high school in the state of Michigan. There's 300 staff in the building, there's 3,000 students. We need to empower students because there is more power within each of them than there are the adults. They don't always recognize or realize that. But the feedback I get from students is, Mr. Polson, there's repercussions for standing up and advocating. I'm not talking about school repercussions. I'm talking about I can't ever escape it because it's on social media, it's in the neighborhood, and I'm not willing to stand up and share my voice for others because I'm worried about what's going to happen to me. And that's not just in Kentwood, friends. That is across our community, that's across our state, that's across our country. And so the belief of it takes a village is absolutely true, because if we stand together and no one stands alone, then no one has to worry about the repercussions because we share in that community. And we're working through student leadership to empower that. We have ambassadors that welcome our new students to the 9th grade campus. They're our high school mentors. We have a student advisory for athletics for our school. We are home to the state champion, We the People team. It's a civic group that is, beautifully diverse. Odyssey Lions, state champion. Global Finals Robotics, 5th in the nation, hip hop dance. Students don't accomplish those great things unless they can be vulnerable and have a growth mindset with caring adults that help cultivate that. That doesn't mean we're without problem. We all saw that. No one will stand up and say today was successful. But I will also sit here and tell you I am proud to be a Falcon. And I am proud of the work that our educators, our students, our families, and our community do each and every day. And Kentwood is unlike any other place in this state and unlike any other place in this country, because we truly believe we can be the model of public education. We know we can't do that until we have a strong, thriving community. And while I can't get into the details of the circumstance of the event or the details of the background of each student involved or the consequences of what's going to happen, I can assure you we'll apply the full extent of our board policy, state law, and our school handbook for perpetrators of violence in our school, period. But I also have to be mindful that the disproportionality that exists in schools on discipline along racial lines leads to a disproportionality of those that are incarcerated. And so we have to be mindful that as we sit here and say, throw the book, because this was an ugly incident, we also know then we have to be caring individuals and keep each individual circumstance separate. I don't want to continue the pattern that's happened across this country. We can't throw away lives. If we exclude a student from our school, they are not excluded from our community. They still live here. And we do expel kids. We expel them at a rate that I'm not comfortable with. But we still know there are neighbors. They're out in our stores. And violence in our community is not limited to our schools. It's happened in our churches, it's happened in stadiums, it's happened in stores, it's happened on the street, it's happened, yes, in schools. I will tell you, teachers across the country are leaving at higher levels than ever before. And safety is one of the reasons. So we need to make sure that we cultivate care and concern for our children and make sure that our staff feel that they are supported in doing the wonderful but sometimes difficult job of educating children. Veronica has led this effort, and she is running our point for all of our training around how we build deep, meaningful connections with kids, because that's what we believe is the best lever for safety, is to have those strong relationships. I want to make sure I don't miss anything there, Veronica. Would you like to share anything else? Okay. Communication came up several times. And this is a challenge now, and I'm honest and transparent with this. We will never keep up with the pace of a social media post. We have to do an investigation to determine, is what happened actually what happened? Or is the post valid? 2 years ago, we saw a post on social media about something that happened, and it said, this just happened at EK. Student got the letters mixed up. Happened at EL, East Lansing High School. But we have to do an investigation to determine, is that actually true? We had a medical emergency at the freshman campus. A student got injured. It wasn't a fight. We had to call an ambulance. Things like that happened at Explorer Elementary today. Student fell off a piece of playground apparatus, hurt himself, we had an ambulance there. We try to respond first to the safety and well-being of the student and then communicate out. We have to make those decisions about to what degree do we communicate out something has happened, or what degree is it something that, no, this isn't what we're going to communicate on. Not every family wants what happened to their child put out to the whole school, because children know who it was. And so there's this delicate balancing act between transparency and the rights and privacy of children. I'm not saying it's not easy, and I'm saying we made errors in it, but I will say, throughout that event, I was at Kentwood High School today. I sat with the team to review the evidence, so I could best understand what did actually happen. Be different tomorrow. So obviously I've been here for the last couple hours. I haven't talked to our team at East Kentwood High School, but I can tell you how we've handled things like this in the past. Pulling 3,000 students into the field house to have an assembly is not the best way to engage children in these conversations. We typically like to have those in smaller units with a teacher that knows the children. It's the fifth day of school tomorrow. We're still building those relationships. So what I would expect tomorrow is that first hour, we would have a lesson that each teacher would have to discuss this issue with kids so we can unpack it, what are the feelings, emotions, but also then construct what are the strategies that we're going to ask kids to do. The most troubling thing about this, for me, other than the injuries and that the child sustained, is the children that chose to watch video instead of, I get a kid not wanting to intervene. They don't know if they can be physically safe. Go get an adult. We've taught them that. That's not like we haven't taught them that. But what we see is mob mentality. And East Kentwood High School isn't the only place that exists. It's not okay. No one here is accepting that what happened, not exactly hitting out the park with helping each other out. So kids do get in lots of inputs. We need to make sure that we're feeding more of the positive, proactive side, so when they see these other things, they can say, no, that's not what we do here. We have work to do. Student voice, we do, Sunil has done probably more focus groups with students in this district than anybody else. We actually do focus groups by affinity group. So we'll pull students that self-identify as African American at our secondary level. We'll sit down with just African American children, because we know that they'll be more open about their experience when they're with affinity groups. And that's what Sunil has led. We do that with a variety of groups, not just African American, a variety of groups. Of course, if students aren't comfortable, we don't force them to participate in those events. We contact parents so they know as well. But we take that data, we take the survey data so we can best understand the perception, and then we take it to a group. In this room, last May, we had 75 students from across our district, our secondary. We said, here's what the data, here's what you're telling us about your school environment. Let's unpack that. Give us meaning, give us context. And we take that learning and then we put it in. They said to us that relevant learning, whole child environments, those are really important to us. And so we craft strategies. That's where restorative practices came from. That's where positive behavior intervention supports came from. We work with, and Veronica's the lead on our community partners. I don't know, I don't have the full list, but community partnerships is something we do. We probably have too many to name, but we work with community partners on a variety, health, wellness, social development. We have trainers come in and talk about things like date raping. We have talk about healthy relationships because we know that those are factors that our students are facing. Aftercare for the child, we do have a team that follows up with our children and families to ensure that they know that they're cared for and that there's school personnel there for them. Security, I haven't seen the direct, we're still investigating, but I don't have a good answer for you right now of why it wasn't a safety officer there. I promise, we will follow up with information about our own investigation, not just about the event, but also the response. I just don't have that for you right now.
So I heard that they were sped kids, what's that?
I can't tell you factors about the students, I apologize. Parent volunteers in school, we do have processes and opportunities for parent volunteers in school. We certainly welcome our parents in school. I encourage you to talk to your school principal about the opportunities for volunteering. Our safety staff goes through about 35 hours of training each year. So 2 weeks ago, they had training along with 7 other districts in Kent County. All of our safety officers were present. Our keynote speaker for our entire staff, his name is Jason Russell. He is a leading national expert in school safety. He's our keynote speaker. Every one of our staff was trained in safety, disruptive events. But that's the degree that because during our strategic planning process, we heard from students and families and staff that we need to uphold safety to a higher level. So we said we're going to focus our whole welcome back to school on safety by bringing a national expert. He's done safety assessments on every one of our schools. He's conducted training for our safety staff, and he is on campus frequently with us, consulting us. And he trusts Kentwood Public Schools to the degree that his daughter is student teaching in our school district. He works with 85% of school districts in Michigan. And he wanted his daughter to be at Kentwood. That's an affirmation for us. Again, not excusing what happened, not saying it was good, but these are strategies that we've been taking.
Kevin, can I interject?
Yes, you can.
Just really quick, just because it's weighing on my heart. We talked about inclusivity and just in terms of how we label people. To say that someone is a sped kid makes it feels like a negative connotation. We do have students who have disabilities, right? Who happen to have disabilities. But we want to make sure that we are not putting them in a bucket of isolation, much like we don't want to be in that same place. So we do have students with disabilities. I don't know, again, what the situation there was, but I just felt like I couldn't let that go without us, being careful about how we identify people, because someone will hear that and not feel comfortable with it.
I'm totally fine with that. My daughter's in special ed in Kentwood. I'm more upset that of the people that were recording it. I'm so sickened by it.
So if you will help me and not allow anybody to call your child
A sped kid.
There are children with disabilities, and we all have something.
Yeah, Yeah, that's totally fine. I am so upset that people were watching. I follow a scammer group, Lisa Judy, and she was like, one person was recording. I'm like, no, probably about 30 people were recording and did nothing. And I am so upset by that. I'm more upset about the people that watched that than the people that were fighting. And that boy, I don't care if the girl started it and ripped his shirt off and everything else, he kicked her head so many times, all you need is one kick, and he has a murder charge. I don't care, white, black, I don't care, my son's Puerto Rican, don't care. One kick, and nobody did nothing. All they did was laugh and record. And that is sickening. I am so, it's the fourth effing day of school. I am so sick about it. I don't care what color you are. Oh my gosh, it's just black, white, Puerto Rican, Mexican. I don't care. It's people, it's people, it's people. And it's sickening. I don't care if they have a disability. I don't care. I don't care. It is so sickening. Nobody did anything. I don't care if it was in a special hallway, like my son said. He was in lunch, he didn't see it, he saw the video, he's very disturbed. Very disturbed. It is so disheartening that I gotta deal with this on the fourth day of school. And then I went and picked my daughter up from Pinewood. I saw an ambulance come in, I saw a fire truck come in. What's going on now? I had a police here, I had a police here, I left. There were 4 police when I went out to Eastern, Kelms or whatever. I don't care. It is so sickening. Where was Milk Dog? Get on your scooter. Where was, I don't know. My son tells me so many times about people vaping in the bathroom. 30 seconds fight. It's good fun, but going to the bathroom and let's just box for 30 minutes. Why? That's a thing that happens. He tells me. I am so disgusted by this on the 4th day of school. And I'm more disgusted that nobody helped that girl. Again, black, white, don't care. Man, woman, don't care. Nobody helped her. And whoever that dude was that kicked her head repeatedly, thankfully she's alive. Thankfully, again, I don't know what happened. I don't know where she went, where he went, what happened, don't know. I'm just sickened by it. Where's security? Don't we have a police officer we hired last year that's roaming everything? Where was he? Where was everybody else? I do not need to worry about my kid going through all this or seeing this. He told me it was horrific, Mom. It was awful. He saw the video. It's not online anymore. It was disgusting. He wasn't there, but he saw the video. Fox 17 had a little bit of the video. Disgusting. Even though there was only 1 point to it. Carry on, but I am so grossed out by the people that just sat there and laughed and recorded it and did nothing. I bet you anything, somebody was her friend, but said, hey, let's get some clout and record this. Put it on Snapchat, put it on TikTok. They don't care. It's all about the videos nowadays.
I do have a quick concern about, so there's many layers to being a bystander, right? And I'm not sure what was going through the children's head at this point, but I do want to make the point that because we saw the video, there was mobilization, right? But at the same time, there's complexity of, we don't know if that video was posted for that purpose or for clout. So, and I don't know the answer to that too, but.
If you laugh, it's for clout.
Right, no, but like what, that's a legitimate method to get the community together. And just maybe putting that somewhere along the line of interventions, right? Of how do we use this effectively, but still make sure that we're intervening and prioritizing safety and care. Over something like that, because I think, that's one of my instincts as an activist is to show something wrong happening and show it to the world. And I think that a lot of, Gen Z children, that's also an instinct too. I don't know that that was the intention, but there's some complexity there.
I just wanted to say too that, when I went, first I want to thank him because, I go to a lot of meetings at a lot of different schools, and different incidents, and very thankful to the freedom fighters that some people call some of the women here that are protesters, but they are freedom fighters. I've seen them in a lot of, things taken up for many different incidents, and glad to see all of you here tonight. But I would say when I got here, coming from the community, I don't know, some from the community, some of the staff, he had 3 options. That's when I got here. So I didn't add to any of the options. I got here, they were already there. And he chose to come out. And I said that's historical because that hasn't happened in a lot of different school districts or a lot of different corporations.
Dr. Mike Robert was from my cop friend that said it's still live. I did not even know about tonight.
Yeah, we definitely.
She said it's 5:30, it's still going on.
And I'm glad the freedom fighters fought to make sure those doors are open and talk about.
It was locked, somebody let me in.
Yeah.
I respect that, but that's not what happened. They were kept outside, and the only reason why he did come out is the committee put pressure on him.
It was
He
But I would still say,
As a whole.
I would still say, what has never been done before.
It shouldn't take that much back. It shouldn't take that much. It shouldn't take that much.
But I'm also,
It shouldn't take that.
Can we give him a chance to continue addressing what we needed, though?
All right, guys, okay, this is my call to action. I got you, Robert, this is my call to action. This is not how we do things, we are always one. We come together as one. You may not agree with what somebody says or what they do. I've been on boots on the ground for 3 years straight, sleepless nights. If we fight each other, it doesn't get us anywhere.
Right.
You're not gonna like what Robert said, you don't like what he said, what she said, but as adults, who's on our kids? They don't listen because you don't listen.
And our kids are watching us right now.
Watching everything that's going on here. I've sat and I haven't said anything. I haven't said anything because I let y'all do your thing. I'm more of the background person. I do a lot of background things. I don't like being on camera. I don't like talking to the news. It's not me. But a lot of things that go on with our kids in schools, sorry, it starts at home. Yep. It starts at home. I got 2 that go to Glenwood. None of y'all knew that. But I'm gonna try to tell my kids every day, what you do in front of me is what you do at school. Teacher, you close your mouth, that's what you do. But we bicker with each other here, the same way you explain it, you do it at home. Please let this man who took his time, because he didn't have to open this up. He did. Finish what he's doing, and we can go home. Do some kind of, pretty sure some kind of statement. Please let him finish. It's respect. Let all y'all talk. Everybody yelled at him, got what you want out. Let him do his job. I was an educator as well. I know how this goes. Let them do their job. I taught for 8 years and walked away for things like this. Please.
Quickly, if I could just say, and I just wanted to add to what some of the women asked for an assembly, and I know even though they said it's hard to get all those kids together, I wanted to add to what the women said about the assembly, that when I went to East Kentwood today, a lot of the kids were leaving and not putting any blame to them, but I was saying, you would have not known this had happened. It was like a regular day, people were having their fun. I'm not mad because kids were using a little profanity, because kids do that in high school, but it was just a regular day. I said, do they know how big this event that just happened is? So I just wanted to add that. I'll put no blame to the kids, but for this learning opportunity that for some of the females that came up with the idea that you mentioned it about the assembly, I think is very important especially, and even beyond race, a lot of people don't understand, one of the reasons our community is so angry, you just had a woman killed, shot, and chased down. So that gender thing with man and woman is saying, we gotta stop them here. So it doesn't happen what we just saw last week to a woman that didn't deserve any of this. So when it hit me, it was not only a woman sitting down, we still mourning a woman that was just killed senselessly. And me being a man, and knowing some of the people involved, we failed that woman. Because we had these young men growing up in our area and even looking up to us. And I know somebody said looking up to us, but we have music culture, we have hip hop, we have sports, some look up for us, rap, some look up for basketball, some look up for intelligence, or we drop in knowledge. We have a chance to create a culture where men know you do not put your hand on a woman under no circumstances. Another one died like last week. That's one of the biggest reasons I came out here. And all you women, I praise you so much because there's more y'all here than us men. And that's our job to protect our women. And I'm not talking about protecting them like this. We got to protect them with the knowledge. And put the seed in these young boys now. We can't have it.
Thank you, Robert. We're gonna do a couple more, and then I would like to just make sure that if there's any other suggestions that you have, that we don't leave without those as well, because you are our partners in educating children. We don't do this in isolation.
What can you do about the Wi-Fi? If they ain't got access to Wi-Fi, then laugh all you want to, but
Okay.
legit.
We'll take that question down.
They have cell phone service.
There's multiple questions about police presence and police involvement.
Right.
So last year, in April, was the first time that we had a school resource officer in the public schools. We have always tended toward a robust safety department, and not engage with law enforcement for a couple of reasons. One is we believe relationships are the best safety mechanism we have, and about 95% or better of acts of school violence, somebody knows ahead of time, you can prevent them best if they have a trusted adult they can work with. Second is for one family, when I say we're gonna have a school resource officer, they say, thank you. And to another family, when I say we're gonna have a school resource officer, they say, that instills fear.
Exactly.
That same emblem creates two distinct or more reactions. We have to be mindful of the community served. I think being a police officer is the hardest job there is. I have respect, for what they do. However, I understand the implications of what that means in our community and others. We were very intentional with the school resource officer that we hired. Deputy Davis lives in Kentwood, he has 3 children in Kentwood. He comes from a diverse background and has that lived experience that can create relationships with a broad spectrum of families. That was important to us. The reason we did hire a school resource officer, right now we have one, started in April, we just want to see how it goes first, is in crisis moments, we need somebody that knows our buildings and knows our people, that can respond, but can also coordinate with the other responders. We know that if something does happen, you're gonna have so many jurisdictions respond, when they are fisheries and wildlife people have no idea what they're doing in Kentwood, and we have to have somebody that knows what they're doing. So we're still evaluating that, but so far it's been a good success. He is based at the freshman campus. And the idea there is that he's based at the freshman campus, he builds relationships with our ninth graders so we can know them throughout their high school experience. So as far as the police presence here, during one of our board meetings, we have a Save Here police presence. That's just a common thing that we do here. If you look around the country at any type of open meeting in schools, you've seen how some communities react, and that's been a shift across the country, not just in Canada. And then, I think there's one more. Okay, I think those were the main team. Is there anything else on your list that I missed that was significant? They're all significant, but anything? Okay, let me just shift then while you guys think about that. Last question, and if we could just make this quick, popcorn, 3 words if you can. suggestions. So we've heard assembly, workshops, training, representation, communication, transparency, accountability. Team, am I missing other suggestions? Engagement, partnership, empowerment.
I just, that teachers feel safe to intervene, so that there's a safe way to intervene. It doesn't have to, like, I love that you mentioned earlier about, minimizing that law enforcement kind of way. It starts earlier, and just that culture of teachers so that they feel supported by each other, to intervene, to prevent.
Thank you.
So it's during my son's lunch hour, teachers should get lunch, whatever time. Where were people in this hallway? I don't know what hallway it was at, but where was anybody? I saw a 30-second video, I saw a 16-minute video. Where was anybody?
As I shared earlier, I will follow up with that question once I get the investigation done.
Not that my son's gonna go start a fight, but you don't need to see that.
Do we have student father groups at East Kentwood? Like something that y'all actually have, where y'all have fathers of students come in, because a lot of these kids need somebody else to be a father to them. We have fathers groups.
Good question. We haven't, here I haven't asked it, anything intentional around just father, like you're talking about brother's keeper or things of that type?
Yeah, not a father.
Mentors.
It's a mentorship.
Yeah, mentoring organization.
Like specifically for fathers that go to East Kentwood. So we can come in and hug on some of these boys' necks too.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I will put in, we wrote that down. One of our best strategies.
There is something like that in freshman campus called Level Up, that another one of our administrators had created. If you spoke at it, I spoke at it, and those are some of the things that, Level Up, we have a group of male come in, and we put on a conference for a lot of our freshmen, and we go around from room to room and get a lot of advice from successful black men, and successful men. We're gonna do the same thing for women as well, later on in the spring.
Is that community facing as well?
It is.
I haven't heard anything.
It's just for the students at the freshman campus, but we invite members of the community to come in and present and mentor at that. We do, our best effort has been around getting kids engaged in extracurricular activities. So we have a Black student union, Asian student union, Baltic student union. We have 35 different clubs that our kids can be engaged with. Athletics, music, because we know when kids are connected, they're having yet another meaningful adult relationship as well. Other suggestions? Yes?
So I know the issue of race has been brought up a few times as far as like diversity and inclusion, but I feel like a lot of people don't talk about anti-racism.
Yes.
You can't just say I'm not racist if you're not doing the work towards not being racist. So that having a trickle down effect from faculty and staff and that being taught to students.
So our book, and I agree with you, not being racist is not okay. Anti-racism is the value. So our leadership team is in the midst of a book study called Courageous Conversations by Singleton. It's a construct for how to talk about race in school. And it is, the supposition is that institutional racism undergirds each and every one of our systems, and we have to acknowledge it in order to dismantle it.
A parent on live said that the elementary schools have what is called watchdogs, and can that be brought to East Kentwood?
So some of our schools have watchdogs, not all of our schools. The way watchdog works is there's a dad and a grade student, that's the DOGS. And that is a dad each day that is in the building in the classrooms, recess, lunchrooms. I've been a watchdog parent before. It's a good program. It does require 180 volunteers. It's every day. So we can put that suggestion down as well. Thank you.
Keep looking at this picture right here, right? These are young kids, our young minds, very, very diverse. So if not for anything, I'm glad that we're here today. So indifferences, disrespect, different viewpoints, that kind of gotta go out the window. It gotta be a point where we coming together.
and I think that that's a great first step, but, you know, that can happen in silos, and sometimes information or how it's received, varies by how it's given. So I wonder if that's a first step, but then I do love that idea of some sort of like collective, like if you know, you're the voice that's sharing this message with the entire school body. So I guess what that assembly or whatever, where everyone is receiving the message at the same time. And not just a one and done, like a, you know, quarterly, where the school, like the first half is a mandatory, is shut down, all of these great ideas is brought forth to that space. And these things are happening repeatedly, like over once a quarter or something. And every classrooms, all of that, is just if you all come together and address these things as a student body, so that these messages are not being changed based on the person who's sharing it, but it's coming, you know.
I appreciate that, and the reason I suggest that is the approach that I've seen more successful, because then it's interactive and there's dialogue, and the students can have cognition with feedback and dialogue. When we get in an assembly, like kids, average attention span for a teenager is 14 words, and they're just pretty quick. Yes.
Are you open if some parents or a lot of parents feel like that the community engagement between parents, faculty, and students is not expeditious? Are you open to supporting parents if they come together and start to create meetings and maybe even offer a room like the Community Collaboration Center here to, if we lead it, if we feel like it's not being, okay. Who do we reach out to? Can we reach out to you directly or, okay. Mm-hmm.
Across the district, like you said, they said these teachers only use these kids for 5 days. What are we doing in relation to buildings across the district? Maybe between kids, maybe between staff. Not sure what that looks like, but if we're separating into these silos of different schools, maybe we need some different relationships that looks different.
And then, I know,
kids, I'm also in managing adults, like shift manager, stuff like that, right? So, I don't believe that we give the kids a choice as to what standards we wanna set for them and what the expectation is. Like, us allowing them to have feedback and it's like, we tell my daughter to go wash the dishes, and she keep going back and forth with me saying, I ain't about to wash the dishes right now because I didn't have dishes on my lap. Like, it's not a choice. You're gonna go wash the dishes right now, or there's gonna be consequences. And I feel like what's going on nowadays, the kids got too many choices. And back in the day, when we grew up, we didn't have to. It was you do it, or there's gonna be consequences. And then if you didn't like those consequences, and that wasn't good enough, it was something else. But we're giving them too many options to speak on stuff that's not for them to speak on. We're putting kids into adult situations. Yeah. You know, as adults, we're all here. We didn't come up with a solution besides say, oh, we're gonna let the kids speak. No, we don't need to let them speak. This is what happens when you let them speak. When they in class, you sit here, you gotta sign C's. When you leave in an order. Okay, line up, blah, 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 blah. Even though they high schoolers, y'all not acting like y'all young adults right now, because y'all can't even get out the door without fighting. So I feel like the structure has to be there. It's not, we're not implementing no structure. We just let them free will. And then it's like, okay, but then, yeah, so now we're gonna give them their first hour. The teacher's gonna try to say something to them. Now, 26 different people are gonna be talking at one time. The teacher's gonna be rallying them up all hour long, trying to get them to settle down so that they can have a conversation. Lo and behold, the bell ring, now they busting out the door, and they ain't talking about anything.
I can assure you that's not poor quality instruction. Our teachers at the high school, if we ask them to do a lesson, they can tell you it's not a free-for-all. It will be a carefully constructed, structured lesson. I hear you that high expectations are non-negotiable, and I agree with you. That is not something we should ever compromise on, is high expectations for student behavior. Suggestion, feedback.
Yeah, write that down, self-defense classes, if somebody didn't write it down.
I think that was very important, even just watching the video. I don't think she knew how to properly protect herself in that situation either. And even speaking with my children, it's like, yeah, I can tell them, this is what you need to do, but to really put a plan in action, that has to be something with professional.
So we do teach the self-defense of telling a dog when there's something you're concerned about. And that's why the trust and relationships are, as far as physical self-defense, we don't teach any martial arts or anything around those lines. But that would be something that for sure we could have, partnerships with community or,
I just had one more thing. So I know we were talking about an assembly and the fact that we do have 3,000 students at that school, and it might not be feasible to do it all at once. But we can get all them kids out there to that football field all at once. What I would like to see happen, bring all of those kids out, send us an email, because y'all send emails like all day, every day. Send us emails, say, parents, we need y'all here for this assembly. Let us stand behind y'all. We are with y'all. We will not tolerate this. Those kids will see their parents and understand what they need to be doing. Because again, I know we've said a lot, but kids just standing around doing nothing, like, that's crazy.
what if you're sitting together with your child for this event?
That's what I'm saying, like, have them there, have us there. Like, cause I know parents would be like, yeah, y'all better not do this shit no more.
Exactly.
Like, we need to be there. And I like, cause right now, I'm sorry, but I feel like teachers is not trying to tell parents about what's going on with their kids. We're trying to keep them separate. Y'all don't want to tell us if they're going by other names. I'm not trying to bring that up, but what I'm saying is, y'all not telling us what's going on with our kids in those schools, when they are in school. Like, we need that information. We need to know if our kids, we need to know what's going on in the school. I know y'all want to keep it just a teacher-student relationship, but we need to know. And I think the assembly with us there, with backing y'all, with y'all, telling these kids this is not something that they are supposed to do ever again, and if y'all see it starting, stop it. Like, I don't know if y'all athletes was there, but I am thoroughly surprised if athletes was there and they didn't stop any of that. Like, what type of discipline is that? Like, we just need to be there. That's all I'm saying. All the parents, call us. I know that you can do a call everybody. Y'all can send an email to everybody. I think parents would show up.
We want to be a partner, we want you to be able to with that.
Well, I know tonight wasn't a away game for varsity, but do I have to worry about dropping my kids off at football games now for retaliation? Or is this isolated? I mean, I shouldn't have to worry about this.
My hope
I'll
is,
buy that student pass for $30 in a heartbeat.
yeah, when you put your trust in your child in our hands, it's not something to take lightly. And I know, I've always said, you have 3,000 kids at school, you have one. That's the one you care about, and that's the one that has to matter to you and matters to us. I won't stand here in front of you and say we're perfect, they obviously demonstrated that. But I think the fact that these folks are all here and stay here is because they care, they didn't have to. And our commitment is your child's safety for each and every, we send our campus safety to all of our events. Because we know when our athletes go to some communities, and our families go to those communities, when they see that yellow shirt, they feel safer. Because there's somebody they know that's there. We were the first school to implement weapons detection at East Kentwood High School, East Kentwood Field House in the conference. Because we want, when you go to the game, we don't want you to have to worry about what the person next to you might be carrying with them. We want you to have the focus of your child on the field. And so we take steps. We have work to do. I'm not gonna, I hope you've heard that from me tonight. You know, we have work to do. But we have very comfortable putting up the protocols we have in place to others. It just didn't work for them. And we have to reflect on that as to why and get better tomorrow.
The yellow shirt guy rocks the senior section like there's no tomorrow. I see in and out, you can't go here, go over there. I love it. But I also do not want to have to worry about my childhood. I don't care if it's at East or wherever else, nowadays, I'm just gonna have to worry about my kid.
I worry about
And
my
it's
child
so
everywhere.
sad.
Right, I was gonna say,
Unfortunately,
welcome to being black.
Unfortunately, for that, I mean, I hear you. As I promised, we took good notes. We will post an FAQ online to the questions that, so you can reference it. I encourage you to stay engaged and to reach out if there's questions that you feel weren't answered tonight. And we will continue the conversation